All right, everyone, we've got Adrian, Mr. Cashflow himself, on our show today, the Real Estate Hustle podcast. We're so excited to learn from Adrian. Adrian, welcome to the show, and tell these folks all about you. How long you been doing this real estate game?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here. Yeah, I've been a real estate investor now for the past 10 years. Started, I was still a police officer at the time when I started investing. I was a police officer in the GTA. I was there for 21 years in that career. And the last 10 years of my career in policing, I started to buy rental properties and invest in real estate.
That's awesome. That's exciting. I mean, we hear a lot about the investment world. I got to ask, where did the nickname come from, Mr. Cashflow?
Good question. So when I first started investing in real estate, I met my business partner, Sandy McKay, and Sandy was actually my realtor at the time. So Sandy was selling me properties, I was buying them, and putting some new tenants in there and generating some new rents. And all my properties initially, the first few I bought with Sandy as my realtor, we still are, but we were getting, $1,500 a month positive cash flow from each property. And some of the rents I was getting too, back then as well, when Hamilton really started to boom, Sandy was like, I can't believe the kind of rents you're generating in the cash flow. Like, you're 1,500 here, 1,600 on this one. He says, you're like Mr. Cash Flow. And then ever since then, it just kind of stuck. So thanks to Sandy, it kind of started and it kind of stuck.
Wow. That's a cool story. And, I've known Sandy almost a decade now, and I've never heard that piece of the story. So I'm going to have to reach out to him and give him the gears. Now that's cool. So you're investing, you're a cop still at the time, and you decide to give it all up and become a full-time investor. Is that the only thing you're doing now? What does your world look like today?
Yeah. So I guess, luckily all my investments went in the right direction and I capitalized on them. And essentially I could live my lifestyle just on my cash flow from my properties, which, that's saying live life on your own terms. I was able to retire early after 21 years of being a cop and live life on my own terms. And that's when Sandy and I got into business together. And we started several companies together. So you probably know we have the construction company, we have a property management company, obviously there's MRN. So there's a multitude of companies. And, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, what's your life going to look like 10 years from now? First of all, I never would have thought I would have retired from policing. I never thought we'd have this empire of rental properties, which is a whole other conversation. But then all these businesses creating income as well. So yeah, things kind of really exploded. Never thought it'd go there, but it's just the power of surrounding yourself with good people and maybe a little bit of luck along the way, but a lot of hard work too.
Well, you guys are always putting yourself in the way of opportunity, right? I mean, we call it luck, but realistically, it's opportunity.
Absolutely, for sure.
That's pretty neat. And so do you hold a real estate license still? Are you still actively looking for property?
Yeah, I'm still licensed. I've been licensed now, for 3 years or so. Still actively looking for properties. Really, we kind of segregated our business. So I'm more focused on, like Sandy's focused on the MRN side.
Right.
And I'm more focused on working with investors with executive capital and raising funds to continue to purchase smashing deals on investment properties.
Wow. So you guys are now the lender. You started as an investor and now you're...
Yeah, so now we've leveraged that and using our expertise to work with different clients on creating really, really positive cash flow properties that are awesome deals. So that's kind of my focus on the side of the business. And we've kind of segregated that with respect to MRN and EPC.
Okay. And so what made you start lending? I mean, you guys are doing great. Like you said, you're kind of retired, you got this empire built and you're still going. I mean, where's that coming from?
It just kind of blew up. Like, again, nobody really thought it was going to go there. And we just, a lot of people put a lot of trust in us because of, you know, what we're bringing to the table as far as our credibility, our reputation, and you know, our experience. Sandy's been an investor for 10 years. I've been an investor for 10 years. So together we have, you know, combined 20 years of real estate investing experience. And then also, you know, building this organizational Costco of companies where, you know, for like-minded investors, they can come through the door. We can find them that right investment property. We have everything in place where we're a one-stop shop.
Wow. So is there anything specific you guys focus on or yourself focus on? I know cash flow, but is there like a property type or like, what does that look like? You know, if someone wanted to bring you a deal, what are the type of deals you like?
We like the buy, renovate, refinance, and rent. So the BRRRR strategy, which is obviously honing on distressed properties. So we're buying them, you know, we're buying that property distressed. We're putting in a bunch of money to renovate that and then force that appreciation through the roof. And we're batting like 99% on getting all of the capital out on the refinance, which essentially now you're owning this. Again, we really focus on multifamily homes. You have this multifamily home with no capital in it. You still have cash flow. You still have debt paid down. So really, it's like infinite return on your money. And I think that, you know, based on our experience and what we're bringing to the table, plus the infinite return on your money gives people the peace of mind to work with us and invest with us.
Wow. So you're putting a strategy together. If I heard it right, your strategy is basically we're going to use the money, but at the end of it all, you're going to get it all back.
Yeah, I like to call it the rinse and repeat. So our strategy focuses typically 8 months, money in, money out, rinse and repeat. Money in, money out, on to the next project, 8 months, rinse and repeat, all incorporating the buy, renovate, refinance, and rent.
Wow. Now, I mean, we've got hundreds and hundreds of realtors that listen to our podcast, and we know how hard it is to get qualified, right? I mean, you're self-employed, you're this, you're that, but you guys are both realtors, yourself and Sandy, and you guys are doing this at a high level. So what kind of tips? I mean, how does someone, let's say I got nothing, I know the strategy as well, but how does someone get started? I mean, how do we get going in something like this?
Well, obviously residential lending is a completely different animal than commercial. Commercial lending, believe it or not, if we're buying an 8-unit purpose-built apartment building, it's much easier to secure financing for that. It really goes to the cap rate and the building and whatnot, as opposed to residential, it's strictly on your personal debt ratios and your income and whatnot. But we work with a bunch of different investors. There's been occasions where we'll team up with, let's say, Andre can qualify, but he doesn't have all the capital. We'll bring in Matt, who doesn't have capital but can secure that mortgage for our team, and we put this together, and ultimately it's a win-win for not only Andre, Matt, and ourselves, and we form this triangle. So there's different. Not every joint venture is the same. Not every deal is different, so to speak, as you know, being in the industry for as long as you have been. We have a lot of options depending who we're working with and what deal we're putting together.
Well, and that's almost unique to you guys, right? I mean, the average person that's self-employed couldn't just jump out and find 2 or 3 people. It sounds like you guys have a bit of a system built in around this, and you're doing it at such a high level. So if I got capital, I could literally just come to you and say, hey, I got, a couple $100,000, I want to invest. What do we do? And you guys would kind of take me from there, basically into the Costco.
Exactly. Like the Costco effect, right? Yeah. Find the right project, get the right people involved, and then employ our companies in order to facilitate that return that analysis that we're putting together, you know, Andre, if we buy it at this, we put in 200, it's going to refinance for this, and put it all together in a package for you.
Wow. Wow, that's really, really neat. I mean, I know a lot of guys are doing this game, but you guys seem to have it sort of streamlined and perfectly lined up. So for anyone listening, I mean, make sure you reach out. But talk to me about the empire. I mean, I've heard that word a couple of different times. Sandy mentioned it was when he was on months ago, and now you're saying it again. How many units are we actually talking about here?
So we're at, what are we at, Mallory, now? How many units?
Yeah.
64 properties, 236 units.
Wow.
So yeah, a bit of an empire. And you know, if you asked us 10 years ago or 5 years ago, do you think you'd be where you are today? Sky's the limit. Like really having that mindset, and you know all about that. Sky's the limit, really.
Wow. I mean, and I always hear people say, you know, oh, we want to see $100 a door. Do you guys have any metrics like that you guys are looking at, or is there a?
Those days are long gone. 100,000 a door. Those days are long gone. I mean, that was probably, God knows, a few years back where you're buying stuff in Hamilton for 100 a door. You know, if you're buying purpose built now, you'll never see those numbers again. That was a while ago. But I guess the peace of mind is obviously working with professionals like us, being in the market for as long as we've been, strictly focusing on investment properties. We prepare a pretty tight analysis for you. And as far as, you know, even if we're paying 150 a door, whatever it is, we're going to show you, yeah, the end of the rainbow, the numbers are fruitful, or yeah, this isn't a good deal, based on the renovation costs, our holding costs, our refinance amount and whatnot.
So if I'm looking for a deal, I mean, how do I find one? I mean, what are you guys kind of doing to find a deal, if I can ask?
Yeah, so obviously the normal realtor.ca stuff that everybody's privy to, but we're also leveraging a lot of our resources from MRN as far as team members, the door knocking, the cold calling, the ISAs, doing all that for us as well. So as you know, MRN's a pretty big team now. So we have a lot of foundation and manpower there to help facilitate these off-market deals that we're coming across quite often.
So is that one of the keys that you contribute to some of the success is getting to that off-market stuff?
Absolutely, off-market is definitely pretty fruitful. And you know as well as I do that the market we're in now, I mean, I can speak for Hamilton, everything on market pretty much is a bidding war. You know, the typical no offers for 1 week, and then you're competing against 8 to 10 offers where it goes a little crazy. So obviously having the opportunity to have something off market and not be involved in that competition is always going to be
it's fruitful. Kind of the best way, right? I mean, yeah. You know, I hear you guys talking about putting together an analysis, and again, I mean, easy for probably me to understand and a number of our listeners to understand, but you know, if I don't know what I'm doing, right, I'm getting started, what should I look for? Like, what are some like quick things you look for on a deal that tell me quickly, hey, is this good or bad? Is it strictly just cap rate, or what are some of the other stuff you guys are seeing?
So on the residential platform, we don't really have a lot of influence from cap rates. It's more on the commercial stuff with respect to that. But again, I can't stress enough working, and I'm coming back to this, but working with the right professional. Right. What are we looking for? We're looking for distressed but structurally sound properties. And then working with the right professional is going to be able to say, hey, Andre, this is a good deal. This is a good price based on the after repair value that we're forecasting.
Right.
We typically try to stay away from, you know, homes that are like on a 45 and there's major structural issues. But distressed meaning, you know, grandma lived there for 80 years, the original kitchens, original carpets, you know, original roof, original plumbing, original electrical. So we're looking for that, and we're going pretty deep because the bigger the reno, the bigger the lift, the bigger the refi.
Right.
Which is obviously the name of the game, because we want to extract all that money out at the refinance. We don't want to leave a cent in that property.
Gotcha. Now, are you guys hitting that 100% extraction?
99%, pretty much all but one project in 2020, we left money in. And it was very minimal. I think it was like 15 or 17,000.
Right.
But every other project we did in this year, 2020, we extracted every single cent out. And some of them we actually had a surplus. So we were all out plus 30 grand that we split with our joint venture partner.
Wow. And you guys are doing this in the middle of the global pandemic. So talk to me about that. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people say, oh, my investors are sitting, they're waiting, nobody wants to do anything. And you guys just like foot down on the gas, keep going through the pandemic. What's that been like?
Yeah, so it's funny. I remember when it came out and COVID first really blew everybody up back in March or whatnot. We were talking to a lot of our clients, and we were saying, and I was really pushing. Now's the time to buy. We gotta buy stuff now, because this is a really good opportunity for us. And most investors were gun shy, like most other people. And as time went on through COVID, the market continued to go up and up. Everybody thought it was going to tank, but it did the opposite.
Right.
And, stuff in Hamilton now, I want to say since COVID is probably up 80 grand.
Wow.
Since March to now, we're up at least 80 grand, and everything's a bidding war again. So yeah, we're paying more now. The numbers still work though. That's the thing about Hamilton. The numbers still work, even though the market's up, because it's sort of relative. Home prices are up, but same as that refi. So it's kind of, they're offsetting each other. But I mean, if you bought something in Hamilton in March when COVID first came out, you're looking like a genius right now.
Yeah.
Right? You're up.
So are you guys doing the conversions? Are you starting, like, if we brought you guys a bungalow, are you going to do the BRRRR and convert it? Or are you looking strictly, I want it to start at a duplex or a triplex? Like, where do you guys sort of look at yourself?
We do both. Our construction company really specializes in the multifamily conversions. So yeah, we can take we've worked on a number of duplex conversions, working with permits, working with the city, inspections, and doing everything to code and whatnot. So right from a duplex to a triplex to fourplex, we've done a 12-unit building, 2 11-unit buildings this year. So yeah, there's a wide array of experience there with that.
Well, I mean, you probably hear it a lot, right? But I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to put up with tenants and deal with all this landlord-tenant board and all that stuff. I mean, you guys are 234 for units, 64 buildings. There's got to be tenant issues and all that stuff. Is it still fun?
Yeah, absolutely. So remember I told you we're Costco?
Yeah.
So we actually, we started our own property management company, Executive Properties, Inc. So for those people who don't want to be a landlord, don't want to take that call in the middle of the night, don't want to deal with tenants, so on and so forth, but want to reap the rewards of real estate investing, we have property management in place. So you're completely hands off.
Wow.
And kind of right from the service calls to showing the apartments to getting new tenants, all that stuff, like A to Z, a full service property management company.
So there's literally nothing you guys can't handle from the minute we get the capital or find the property, either or. You're taking it all the way to the finish line, and then you're keeping us out of the crap, so to speak, of having to deal with the tenants and all that stuff as well.
Exactly. So I like to call it, hassle-free, hands-free real estate investing. Then I'm giving you the incredible returns, again, infinite return on your money, incorporating the BRRRR strategy with us, where you got no money in, your cash flow, you still have debt pay down from the tenants, passive appreciation annually through the power of real estate. It's, in my opinion, it's incredible.
Now we always hear, make it in the buy, right? I mean, how you buy is how you're going to finish. Do you guys follow that model, or are you pretty well focusing on the lift and the buy not as much?
I think every stage is important throughout the BRRRR strategy. But again, I always tell investors we're working with too, we're more long-term wealth, as we call it, the generational wealth, long-term wealth. So you know what? I mean, if the market were to shift during the renos, or we leave 30 grand in or 20 grand in on a property, you know, or we pay 20 grand too much for that property,
Right.
who cares? I mean, we're going to hold this. Our goal is to long-term wealth. You know, 15 years from now, when you're going to cash in and the property's up 250, 300,000, like, you're probably not going to think I paid 15 grand too much, right? And again, if you have 5 of these properties and every property you have 250, 300,000 equity, now that's a lot of money, right? So long-term wealth, in my opinion, that's the way to go. But a flip here and there is also good. But our model is more focused on long-term wealth, you know, buy, renovate, refinance, and then hold it as long as we can.
So when we're looking at, I mean, you know, I mean, being an investor, I'm a newbie, I'm coming in, I got my first deal. It's the pandemic. Are we worried about the market shifting? Are you guys thinking or insulating in any way around that?
Not really, no. I mean, they're talking about potentially, I've heard rumors about potentially a 5% correction.
Right.
The reason why I'm not overly concerned about that, again, number one, long-term wealth, but two, most of our properties, like our 40 units, for example, they're all cash flowing anywhere between 1,100 and 1,400 a month. So we have that cushion, you know, regardless, even if rates go up, you know, we have a $1,400 a month positive cash flow cushion or insulation, if you will. So if the market goes down 50 grand, we're still going to make $1,400 a month cash flow. And you know better than anybody, time in the market, right? Not timing the market. Time in the market is going to produce those returns. And long-term wealth, time in the market, I'm not worried about a slight correction, to be quite honest.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting way to look at it. And I mean, I was going to actually start with, you guys got all your money out. So what does it matter what the market does, right?
Well, yeah, we got zero money in the deal. So, and we still have the debt pay down and the cash flow. For even if you take the passive appreciation away, you still have those two factors that every month, you know, the tenants are paying $600-700 a month off our principal, and we're cash flowing. So, yeah, we're sitting okay.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people reach out to you guys. What sort of exit strategies should someone be thinking about? Like, are you guys even thinking, I heard long term, and that's what made me think, okay, well, if I'm in this for long term, do I need an exit plan? Do I need an exit strategy?
Yeah, good question. So with the people we work with, we're looking for typically a minimum of 5-year commitment. And then we can reevaluate. And yeah, you know what? Our partners have first right of refusal from us and vice versa. So either or can happen, but normally we're looking for a 5-year commitment. And most of our partners are not interested in selling in 5 years. They're like, hey, we're still cash flowing. Hey, the market's up or whatnot. Like, there's really no need to sell. But again, we recognize that sometimes in life things change and you have to free up some capital for whatever reason. So our exit strategy minimum is 5 years, and then we reevaluate.
So you should pretty well, you know, if you're advising anyone, bank 5 years. You know, that can't be money that you have to absolutely have right now. It's got to be in a position.
Remember, you got your money out, right?
Right.
You got your money out, so you got no money in.
Got it.
And you're still cash flowing. So why? And again, the only time you pay tax is when you sell that income property, right? Our strategy is tax free. So that's something to think about as well.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean tax free?
So when you refinance your property, right? So you're buying it at 5, you put in 100, and then you're refinancing it for 850, and you're extracting all that capital. You're not paying tax on that. You're just adding that. Essentially, you're flipping the house back to yourself.
Right.
But obviously, when you sell your income property and it's not your primary residence, you're subject to capital gains.
Correct.
But there's no capital gains on a refinance, essentially.
Got it. Any tax on the income that's coming in? So are you counting that as income and then?
Yeah, there's always tax on that income for sure. And that's why you work with a qualified accountant that specializes in income properties and whatnot, so they can steer you in the right direction. But yeah, that is obviously, the cash flow is taxable for sure.
So is there like a minimum, if you've got to recommend, you know, hey, I want to get started, I want to get into this game. Is there a minimum that I should kind of work at saving or refinancing, or is there
Yeah, so most of the people we work with, we're looking for anywhere between a $250,000 to $300,000 minimum, depending on the size of the project, depending on what we're buying. Are we buying a triplex? Are we buying a fourplex? Obviously, 4 units cost more to renovate than 3 units. But yeah, and most of the people we work with, you know, they're most of the capital is coming from a home equity line, and
right?
they're taking advantage of that equity in their home. So they're going to borrow it at 3% on a home equity line, and we're going to turn that into 95, 100% return through the BRRRR strategy. So yeah, I want to say a healthy budget is between 250 and 300.
Okay. That's not bad. I mean, so you're not coming in with 50K and hoping to do what you guys are doing.
Unfortunately not. No.
Yeah, you gotta have a little skin in the game here, but you're gonna get it back, which is one of the nice things, right?
Yeah. I mean, the banks aren't, the appraisers that are coming through at the back end when they're refinancing these things, they come through and they pretty well want a detailed, and you already know this, they want a detailed analysis. Okay, what exactly did Andre do in this house?
Right.
You can't expect to force that appreciation by 400,000 when you're going to throw on a coat of paint and change the kitchen cupboards, the knobs on the kitchen cupboards, and put up a couple new light fixtures and say, hey, look at my new place. We're talking, you know, for a fourplex, 4 new kitchens, 4 new bathrooms, flooring, tiles, lighting, new plumbing, new electrical, new roof, new windows, like a complete, you know, A to Z makeover in order to get that, you know, up there so we can get all of our capital up.
Got it. So, I mean, you know, you mentioned sort of the being with a professional. Is there stuff that, you know, you're on both sides. You were an investor, now you're on the realtor side, now you're in the lending side. So you've kind of got it all, man. What kind of things should I be asking, right? If I'm getting started, I want to talk to another realtor, or, you know, if I'm even coming to you guys, what are some of the questions that you would recommend everyone need to sort of know before jumping in with both feet here?
Yeah, obviously the realtor you're working with is important. You want to make sure they have some background with respect to investment properties, as opposed to somebody who's never sold or never been involved in investing.
Right.
So that obviously is super important to get that good deal and know you're getting a good price and the potential on the back end. So working with a competent realtor in that regard. And then if you're going to partner with somebody because you don't have the time, you don't have the experience, you're looking for a hands-free sort of investment, you want to look for somebody that asks them, you know, how many times have you done this? Can you show me some of your recent projects? Can you show me how the numbers played out on your recent projects? What kind of system do you have? What kind of team do you have behind you? So on and so forth. And can I obviously ask for references? Can I speak to the last 3 people you did a deal with or a BRRRR strategy with? And I'd like to talk to them and just kind of ask them what their experience was working with you. I think, you know, checking off those boxes, and it's not brain science, right? You just want to do your due diligence to know who you're getting into business with, that they're qualified. Once you're doing that, I think, and you like the answers you're getting and you can corroborate what they're telling you is factual, then I think you're in good hands.
So you're saying you wouldn't invest with someone if they aren't investing themselves, is kind of what I heard through that.
For the most part, yeah. I think they got to, you know, what experience are they bringing to the table, right? Is super, super important, because if things start to go a little sideways during a project, you know, what experience does this person have as far as, yeah, we've been there before, we need to do this, this, and this, or whatnot, because you're spending a lot of money on a renovation. And, you know, peace of mind, right? Peace of mind that, holy, I'm putting all this money into this house. Does this guy know what he's doing?
Right.
And it could be a little stressful if you're in it on your own, or the person you're working with doesn't have a clue what's happening.
Right. So if I'm building, you know, I want to be like Adrian. I want to be the next Mr. Cashflow. I got my business partner version of Sandy here, and I want to do what you guys have done. Where am I starting? Like, what does that look like, and how am I going to get there? 'Cause, I mean, you gave up a career. And I'm looking at the numbers here. 21 years as a cop. You were what, maybe 10 years away from collecting the police foundation
Yeah, yeah,
pension?
yeah. I was 9 years away from full pension, so actually I took a hit on my pension, and obviously I left a pretty good paying job, benefits, pension, the whole 9 yards. That security of I just got to keep doing this for 9 more years, and every week I'm going to get that paycheck, so on and so forth. I think, and again, don't get me wrong. In my opinion, as long as you're investing in real estate, you're doing something good. So whether you're going to buy something that needs renos or you're going to buy turnkey, we obviously specialize in working with people who want to buy something that's distressed and do the BRRRR. But if it's too much of a, I guess, if it's too stressful for you or whatnot, put your money in real estate. Buy a turnkey duplex. Let your money sit, forget about it, collect your rent, and let it grow. But if you want to go in the direction of the buy, renovate, refinance, get all your money out, I would say you work with a team of professionals like ourselves. And I tell everybody, you know what? You could take the opportunity, work with us, do one project with us, learn as much as you can. And then, let's say your second project, you say, you know what, Adrian, I really learned a lot. I'd like you to, potentially find me something, but the second one, I just want to do me and my brother, for example, or whatnot.
Right.
I've learned everything I need to learn or whatnot. And you don't have to continue to do every single project with our company, for example, but get your feet wet. Like I said, these renos are pretty deep. Doing it all on your own could be a little intimidating. Working with professionals can take that stress away.
It sounds really, really good. I mean, I know there's somewhere in this line, 10 years of doing this, there has to be a horror story in there somewhere. You willing to share one of those, or one of your biggest sort of learning moments?
Yeah. So there was several years back, we started a project. Again, we hadn't a construction company at that time. So we were doing the typical go on Kijiji, look for a contractor and whatnot. And
which for anyone listening is a nightmare. I can speak to that. That is an absolute nightmare. They either don't show up, they show up, they're not who they say they're going to be. They just don't have their credentials. I can take this wall out for you, and they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. So yeah, we were new in the game. We were new into renovations. We were new into construction. We didn't have our own company. So we hired this gentleman, for lack of a better word, from Kijiji, and things rocked and rolled for like the first 3-4 weeks. So the demo was all done. We essentially now are to the studs, and have to rebuild this up. And every time he came, first of all, he'd come sporadic, typical show up for 2 days, disappear for 5, come back for 1, disappear for 4, and the typical horror story, but nevertheless. And then every time he'd show up, the one day he would show up a week, he always wanted more money. And then, so now we're sitting with a shell of a house. We don't really know what we're doing. We're relying on his expertise that would come around once a week. And then he kind of had us in a rock and a hard spot, because he's like, well, I need another 5 more thousand or 10 more thousand, or I can't come back because I got to pay my guys and I got to pay this and pay that. So nevertheless, it went on for essentially weeks, months, not a lot of progress, very, very minimal. And we were out all this money, and he kind of had us every time, because we're like, well, what are we going to do? And then finally, we had to bite the bullet and cut the cord. But we ended up obviously being in the hole. I don't know, I think it was 35,000, something like that we had to essentially eat.
Yeah.
And, again, learning experience, right? So the light bulb went off shortly after that and said, we have all these clients, we have these properties. Why don't we do this for ourselves? At least we have the peace of mind, not only for us, but like clients, to say, hey, this is all in-house. We have people on staff now, we have people on payroll, and we control all of this. So we're not on Kijiji hiring, these fly-by-night kind of people. So that was probably, I won't forget that scenario, because there were several sleepless nights.
I think you talk to any investor, Adrian, and my story is very similar to yours. I've got something almost identical to that. When we were starting out early in the game, and similar thing, we found this guy. He actually came recommended from another client, and same sort of thing. He showed up for the first 2 weeks, and it was great. Demo went off without a hitch. Same, almost identical story, and then the same stuff started happening. Difference with mine is my guy just stopped. He just disappeared one day. I mean, we're calling, we're texting, it's drywall time. We're trying to put the house back together, and nobody can get a hold of this guy.
So
2 weeks goes by, we can't get a hold of him. So we're back on Kijiji, and we're calling everybody. And guys are busy, right? Yeah, I can take your job, but I can't be here for a month and this and that. And I think by the time we got out, I think we were about 32,000 in the hole that we had to eat, and similar thing. And it just, we haven't gotten to where you guys are yet with the construction company, but I know why guys do it, right? It puts you back in control as opposed to figuring that out. I mean, the other way I think you can do it is get a reputable contractor, and then sort of you can either make them a partner in the deal, or find a way to kind of have them in that process with you if you don't want to start a company, but then at least you're reliant on someone that's going to show up for you every single time. So it's crazy. That's anyone listening, I'll tell you, like, don't limp into this thing. Reach out to an Adrian, reach out to an Andre who has done it, is investing at a high level, and just make sure that you vet them, right? Like, look at what they're doing, who they're talking to. Are they investing themselves? I saw someone, I think it was on Facebook, and they're giving all this advice on someone's investment strategy, and then someone writes, well, how many times have you done it? And the guy goes, not once.
Never done it.
I've never done it.
That's the first mistake, but
so be careful who you take advice from.
And most contractors, so when you finally fire the guy who's taking you the cleaners, good luck trying to find a contractor to come in and pick up the ball, because most contractors do not like sorting out somebody else's mess.
It almost costs
and they end up charging you more, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't know how he did the plumbing. I don't know if it was done right. I have to pretty much start from the beginning again and all this stuff. So yeah, it's not fun.
No. I had a guy come in, and we had a similar situation. It wasn't our project. We were just helping a client out, and same thing. And he said, what do I do? So we bring in a guy, help him out. And the guy says, I got to rip everything out. Everything your guy has done, you spent $30,000 with this contractor. It all has to go.
Right.
They lost. They lost a lot, right? So, key. That's one of the biggest tips, I think, is make sure you got a good team around you, and don't just jump into it lightly, right? You got to be committed to this world, or you're going to get burned. There's a lot of money to be lost too. That's awesome, Adrian. We're almost wrapped up. How do we find you? I mean, like I said, we got listeners now all across the globe. We've got people showing up in multiple places asking questions. How do we track you down? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, just flip me a quick email, executiveproperties@rogers.com. executiveproperties@rogers.com. Shoot me an email, and we can take it from there, answer any questions or connect, and go from there.
I love that. And I'm going to expose you a little bit because you're on Instagram too, right? Mr. Cashflow on Instagram.
Yeah, all over social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So when we connect again, it's a year later from now. We're gonna probably do this again and bring people back, because we're doing a lot of goal setting. It's goal setting season. Yeah. What are we going to be hearing at the end of next year from EPC and MRN? Where are you guys going to be?
I'm really confident we're going to be well over 300 units for sure. So we're at 264. Yeah, I'm pretty confident we're going to be well over 300.
Wow. Can I ask, how much a month do you guys cash flow in total? Like, what are you guys seeing in?
I'd say on average between all our properties, we're probably around 20,000, just over 20,000 a month on cash flow.
Nice. You can live a pretty good life on that, eh?
Just on cash flow. That's it. That's nothing like no other, any other realtor duties or whatnot. It's just straight cash flow. Yeah, you live a pretty good. Well, and that's why I left policing, right? Because I didn't need to burn the candle at both ends and still go work on night shift and push a cruiser, and then come trying to invest in. It was
too much.
Got to the point I don't need it. and I was able to live off the cash flow, obviously.
Well, I love that we had the opportunity to be with you. You're the first really, I mean, we had Sandy, but Sandy talked about the team side, but you're the first real big investor we've had on that's talking about the different strain, right? I mean, you get your license and you think, oh my God, I got to go slug out buyers and sellers every day for the rest of my life. And here you are taking a totally different approach to the hustle and focusing on building generational wealth. So I absolutely love it. Guys, if you're looking for more info, this is the guy to talk to. Reach out to Adrian, Mr. Cashflow himself. I'm Andre Chin with the Real Estate Hustle podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere as well. And guys, if you're looking to do this at a high level, I recommend having a conversation with Sandy, with Adrian over at MRN and EPC. And these guys are going to take care of you start to finish. You guys are in multiple locations now as well. So what is it? Hamilton, Niagara Falls, Windsor, and London. So these guys can help you in any of those cities as well, find properties as well as invest with you. So I love it. Thank you, Adrian, so much for being here today.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.